Hello and welcome to this version of Ask Klein Math. Today we're going to be looking at our TEKS 2.4c, which is solving story problems, both one-step and multi-step, with addition and subtraction. So what we're going to do today is a really fun activity that I love to do in second grade called a numberless word problem. And what I've done is I have taken a multi-step problem right from our HMH Go Math book. Our multi-step problem says there are 150 children at the park, 62 children are riding bikes, 35 children are playing games, the rest of the children are sitting by the pond. How many children are sitting by the pond? Sometimes as students, we have the tendency to want to just grab those numbers and start adding them together because it seems like there were children and they were doing things and we should add them all together. So what I want us to do now is we're going to take away those numbers so that we can really think through the process of the problem. So what I've done is I have just taken that very same word problem and I retyped it. Only you'll notice this time that my word problem looks a little bit different, doesn't it? There aren't any numbers in this word problem. So when I read this word problem, I'm going to read it without the knowledge that there were numbers. I'm just going to start over and I'm going to look at this story problem and really figure out the operations that I need to do to solve it. So this says there are smiley-faced children at the park. Star children are riding bikes. Heart children are playing games. The rest of the children are sitting by the pond. How many children are sitting by the pond? All right, the first thing I want to do is make sure I have read all the way through the story problem so that I have a picture in my head what this story is about. So I know this story is about children at the park. I know that they're doing some different things at the park. So in my mind, I'm thinking, not all of these children are doing all the same thing. So even though I have a lot of children, they all have their own activities that they're doing. So I need to think about that I'm not going to have all of my children doing the same thing. And I also want to think about the question that I'm looking for. And I like to underline the question. How many students are sitting by the pond? So I'm going to circle this word pond because really what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the students by the pond. So now I'm going to do some detective note-taking. I'm going to go through this problem one sentence at a time. I'm going to learn things and I'm going to write some notes like a detective would when he learns things at the scene of the crime. So the first thing I'm going to do is read the first sentence. There are smiley-faced children at the park. I'm going to stop right there because I see a punctuation mark. I'm going to go back and think about what that sentence told me. It told me there were smiley-faced children at the park. So I'm going to put a little picture down here. I'm going to draw a picture of the park. This is the whole park. And I'm going to label my park, and I'm going to put my smiley face right there in the park. So I know that all those smiley-faced children were at the park, okay? Now, that's all I can learn from that sentence. I've taken care of all of the information in there. So I'm going to move to the next sentence. It says, star children are riding bikes. Okay, so star children have bikes. I'm going to put a star and I'm going to put bikes over here in my detective notes, just so I keep thinking about that that's something that those children are doing, okay? That's my note for that. So I've taken care of that sentence. I'm going to go to the next sentence. Heart children are playing games. So I'm going to write that information down in my detective notes too. Heart children are playing games. Okay? That's everything I need to learn from that sentence. So now I'm going to go back to the next sentence where it says, the rest of the children are sitting by the pond. Okay, I don't have a symbol here. I don't have something telling me a number or in place of a number, but I do have a very important word here. I have the word or words, the rest. The rest of the children. So when we look at the rest of the children, I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know how many there are. And because it's something I don't know, I'm going to put myself a question mark there because I don't know the rest of the children. It didn't give me any clue how many that could be. I know there's a clue for bikes. There are star children riding their bikes. I know there's a clue for games because there are heart children playing games. But about the children by the pond, that's a question mark for me. So I'm going to put a question mark for the pond. All right, now I've done all my research about what is happening in this story problem, so I have come back again to my question. How many children are sitting by the pond? Well, I think I can make this look like maybe something like a part whole or a strip diagram to draw this out. And so I'm going to go with that. The way to solve story problems is usually by using a strip diagram. It helps me see my story problem. So I'm going to draw my strip diagram. I'm going to draw my two sections. And remember, usually my sections are parts and the whole. So I'm going to put the whole up here on the top. And so my whole is going to be the whole number of students that I know. Well, I learned that in my very first sentence. I learned that there were smiley-faced children at the park. So my whole is going to be smiley face. And I'm going to put that right there in my unit, in my strip diagram bar. This is my unit that I'm looking for. I'm looking for smiley face. Okay? Then I'm going to look at my detective notes. And I'm going to think through my detective notes, and I'm going to think, wow, part of the children are riding their bikes. Part of the children are playing games. And part of the children are sitting by the pond. Well, if I know these are all parts, this isn't the whole amount of children. It didn't tell me everyone was riding a bike. It didn't tell me everyone was playing a game. It didn't tell me everyone was sitting by the pond. So these are the parts. I can see that I have 3 parts here. So in my part whole, I need to make 3 parts in my strip diagram. So this is a part, this is a part, and this is a part. Now, I know some information about some of these parts. I know the first part is the bikes, and I know that star children are riding their bikes. I know the second part is the games, and I know that heart children are playing games. And then I know the third part was the children sitting by the pond, and that's my question mark. That's the part I don't know. So when I look at my strip diagram, I can see that I know the whole, and I know some of the parts, but I'm missing a part. So what am I going to need to do here? I'm going to need to subtract. This is going to tell me this should be subtraction. So I'm going to put my subtraction sign right here, and I'm going to circle it so it reminds me of that, because I know when I'm missing a part, I'm always going to subtract. Now, let's think about exactly how I'm going to figure that out. When we look at our part whole here, a lot of times we only see 2 parts and the whole. So if we took this strip diagram and we thought about it again as how we could put our parts into 2 parts instead of 3 parts, what could we do there? We would still have our whole up here. This would still be smiley face, but if we have stars and hearts, we could add those together and come up with just 1 part. So this part would be stars plus parts, and this would be our question mark. Now it really starts to look to us like a subtraction problem. So how would I solve this? Well, first, I would do my math. I'm going to do my math right here. First, I would do star plus heart. And star plus heart is going to give me my part. This is going to give me a total amount for this part. So I'm going to draw my arrow over here so I can see that my work goes with this. Then I'm going to have to figure out my missing part. So I know when I have a missing part, I subtract. So my problem is going to look like my whole, because when you're subtracting, you always take the whole as your biggest number. It goes on top of your subtraction problem. So my whole minus my part, which I have found out, is actually star plus heart is going to equal my question mark. And that's going to give me the answer to the children at the pond. Okay? Now, I worked this whole problem, and my answer is smiley face minus star plus heart equals question mark. I did all that math, and I don't have any numbers anywhere in this word problem. All of my work is done with the information that was given to me that didn't have numbers with it. So I figured out exactly what I needed to do as I worked through this problem to come to the operations I needed to use to get the answer that I was looking for. Now you can go back and plug in some numbers. So now I could go back and plug in my numbers for my children, for my star children that are riding bikes, for my heart children that are playing games, and I could still solve for my question mark. And the fun part about this is I could put any numbers in here. I can put 1-digit numbers, 2-digit numbers, 3-digit numbers. I could even put a 4-digit number up here for the children at the park if I wanted to. So I hope that you enjoy working numberless word problems. They are really a lot of fun, and they're really great to move your mathematical thinking and get ready for third grade.